Yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's very interesting. My wife and I used to, you know, lead a Bible study, and we led this Bible study for years. And
Mhm.
at the end of that Bible study, this family had come, they had been coming, and then they came to the Lord, and they had the death of a son, in the midst of that Bible study. And
Mhm.
when we had the funeral, this pastor came to us and said, we've been witnessing to this family for 10 years. We've been praying
Mhm.
for them, we've been meeting with them, and it was you guys who got a chance to harvest that, right? So here's
Mhm.
my point. The one problem that arises is when you think that everybody has to do the same thing, that everybody has to do philosophical apologetics or whatever, instead of just appreciating when someone is taking putting another brick in the wall, so to speak, in a way that is different than yours, in a way that is equally effective, but helps, but ultimately leads to this end goal of giving a reasonable defense for the hope that we have within us. So where Craig might be, where I think that you sense a little bit of prejudicing, I think that that's accurate, because Craig would say this kind of apologetics is merely preaching, right?
Mhm.
That's what he would kind of call it,
Yeah.
because it isn't evidential. He might say, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he might say that this kind of apologetics is merely preaching to the choir, we would differ from him, because what we would
Yeah.
say is we're making a positive case based on people's lived experiences for the
Yeah.
truth of the gospel.
Yeah. And that's what I think. And I don't, cause in reading Schaeffer, I just have never pictured it the way Craig describes it, in that sense of it's
Mhm.
a wholly negative case. There's no positive case for God. I felt like the whole time he's making a positive case by pointing out negative things in the world and the culture
Mhm.
and how they lead to disaster. He's looking at the human condition. Craig's right about that. I mean, it looks at the human condition and says, "Oh man, look at what a mess we're in."
Mhm.
I think that's why we've on our show over the years have done a lot of politics and news events and stuff, because we're
Yeah.
looking at the human condition. But for us, we always try to point that back to the gospel, not just to talk about news for the sake of news, but we're talking about it for the sake of the gospel. How do we point this to Jesus in some way? So for us, at least, there's always been a positive. And just my reading of Schaeffer, I just have never framed it the way when I read that, it was
Yeah.
just sort of
And
jarring to me. That's all.
most people who understand what Schaeffer's project is would not agree with Craig. They would simply point out that Craig is more of an evidentialist, and
Yeah.
Schaeffer says, and I can't recall the book, but Schaeffer says that he's more pragmatic in his apologetics. He is whatever works. He's more eclectic, I should say, in his
Yeah. He's
apologetic
definitely
approach.
eclectic. Yeah. I think that's a good
Yeah,
word.
he's eclectic. That's the right word. He's eclectic in his apologetic approach, which is, if presuppositionalism will work here, then I'll use it,
Hmm.
uh, and if you know classical apologetics will work there, then I'll use that. He's more,
Yeah, because he's
he's
beginning
more
with the touch point of where he is with the culture, but he'll use those other methodologies
right.
throughout his thing. That's why I kind of feel like to say it's a wholly negative endeavor just seems to miss part of the substance of what Schaeffer really did and
Yeah,
what the cultural
yeah,
apologetics really is.